Welcome back to Kushtaka Garage. That's right, I changed the name from Kushtaka to Kushtaka Garage. It only seems fitting, right? After all, this is a do-it-yourself weekend warrior driveway mechanic channel, so might as well add it to the title, bring it on home. Which brings us to today's episode, which is episode number 7 and Project LB7 Duramax spool up. Previous episodes, we removed the downpipe, up pipes, exhaust manifolds, turbo, replaced the driver's side exhaust manifold with a BD full bore, and we replaced the downpipe with a KB diesel performance, and we rebuilt the turbo, slapped on a nice billet aluminum compressor wheel, and we poured and polished everything, which took us to last episode where we took it for a little test run. Noticed we were having some overheating issues, and also detected some carbon in the coolant reservoir, as well as all of the coolant pipes were super rock hard, like full-on Ron Jeremy status. We can't have that now. So that either means we have a head gasket issue, or we have a lifted injector. Me not being a gambling man, I went ahead and bought brand new grade C head gaskets, some brand new studs, and some LDS 45 over sack nozzle injectors. And that brings us to today's episode, where we start disassembling. That's right, this is a disassembly video. We're going to be taking down everything down to the heads, and then finally removing the heads themselves. And it is a long procedure for anybody who has done it. If you have not done it, I'm glad you made it to the channel, because I'm going to take you through all the steps that I did. I'm going to show you the whole process, start to finish. So it's going to be a long one, but it will be informative, and it will help you out ultimately with your endeavor if you have to do this on your Duramax, be it an LB7 or be it a newer Duramax. But especially for you LB7 guys out there, for federal emissions, like my truck, I don't have an EGR or anything to remove or delete. It is just, it's a zero emissions truck, so it was pretty straightforward, but it's going to be pretty much the same for a lot of Duramaxes, with the exception though that the injectors are going to be below the valve covers and not over on top of them. So there is a little bit more involved for LB7 guys. For the rest of you, you're going to see a lot of the same stuff under your hood and be doing a lot of the same things. So it's good to watch this video to cross-reference and help you out in your endeavors. This is going to get us set up for the next episode in Project LB7 Duramax spool up, where we rebuild the head. We remove the injectors, remove the broken glow plugs. We start our port and polish procedure. We do a little real mild porting, guys. Those of you who are a fan of the channel know that, you know, this is a low RPM, high air velocity, high power build. This is meant for just crawling and creeping over mountains and going through old trails and stuff. This is an old overland rig, so we spend a lot of time with lower RPM, so I need fast spool up, very low in the RPM range, and I need as much power and efficiency as I can get there as well, with the lowest possible EGTs. And so I did a real mild port and polish after this video. After I get everything removed, we break into those heads, we start popping those valves out, and knock down the casting on the intake side, the exhaust side, and the bowls. Then we do a valve lapping, and then put it all back together, and that sets us up for reassembly and road test. And then that will be the end of Project LB7 Duramax spool up, because, you know, here we are. It's all put back together and running like a top now. And if all this sounds like your jam, please consider hitting subscribe, liking this video, so we can get this video out to like-minded folks like you and I. You know, it's LB7 guys, we don't have a lot of content out there, so this is my way of giving back to the community that has helped me out so much over the past few years that I've owned this truck. This will be another drop in the lake, right? Alright guys, let's get to it. Alright guys, we're here. We're ready to start taking apart the top half of the LB7 Duramax so we can get down to them head studs. I just got confirmation from KB Diesel Performance that the studs and gaskets are on their way. I got confirmation from Lincoln Diesel Specialties that the SAC 45 over injectors and the install kit and high pressure lines are also on their way. So I've got a few days here to take things apart. It's going to be a race against the weather, but that's okay. Yeah, so I'll show you what we're going to do here. So first things first here. So to access these heads, as you guys can see, we got a lot of parts and wires and tubes and stuff in our way, so we're going to start dismantling. I'm going to take off this cold air intake. Pretty easy. Do it with a screwdriver, or I forgot what that is, 9mm maybe. Somewhere in there, 9mm. We'll pop that off, get that out of the way. We got to drain the coolant, take off the intercooler pipes, which are also pretty easy. I believe those are 11mm. That one's kind of a pain. We'll get to that. And let's see what else we got to do down here. Take out those pipes. Got to remove this old filter housing. May or may not put it back. We'll see. I got the bypass tube right here. And we got to take out the FICM, the fuel computer module here. Let's see. It's like just a lot of tubes and stuff. And once we get down that far, we'll start disconnecting our alternator. And we'll remove the alternator. We'll remove that bracket. We got to remove this tube, coolant tube. Remove the coolant thermostat housing. Got to remove this AC delete pulley. I believe we got to remove the bracket that it's sitting on as well. Got to get the power steering out of the way. So I think that's going to be it, which means we got to take off the serpentine belt and probably have a little more wiggle room once we get rid of this fan shroud. I don't know if I actually have to take off the fan or not. I might be able to get around it without doing that. We will see. Let's see, on this side, got a couple of these clips. These are going to be pretty easy to take off. We just got to squeeze down at the bottom here, and then pop the clip, remove it, push it aside. That should be fine. Got to remove this. We're going to replace this hose, so we got to disconnect this from the turbo. Probably got to take off the turbo horn as well. We got a couple of fuel lines back here. Send and return fuel line. We got to disconnect. Get that out of the way. Then we should be able to take off the valves at that point, or the valve covers at that point, and that'll be pretty sweet. So I think the majority of the work is just getting this top end stuff off, out of the way. And that's really, I think, what is intimidating to a lot of people. I know it's been intimidating to me for the longest time. This is my 4th year owning this truck. But, you know, after you stare at it enough, you work on it enough, you watch enough videos, and you start to get familiar with the engine, and it kind of becomes like, I don't know, like the Matrix movie. It all just looks like fucking googly gosh going down the screen, but after a while of looking at it, you see woman in red dress, you see Thai soup, you know, it just becomes easier. So, okay, I'm going to start by draining that coolant. I'm going to get the coolant out of here, and then we're going to start removing stuff. Alright, we're going to start by draining the coolant. A couple of things we're going to do here to help the process. We're going to pop that radiator cap to allow a little bit of, to release the pressure, allow a little bit of airflow. After it drains a little bit, we're going to pull this bleeder screw out and just let that air flow a little bit better to make sure to get all the coolant out. Now under here is where we're going to start draining our coolant. We got a little plastic screw here. I think I heard somebody call it a peacock. I don't know. But let's get some gushing out here. So we will start off slow before we pull the whole thing. make too much of a mess here. Okay. I'm just gonna let that run for a bit here and slowly drain, and then after a little bit I'll pull that plug all the way out so it can just gush out. Alright, and because we're working with the electrical and everything, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the battery so we don't hurt anything. We've got 2 batteries, so we'll want to disconnect both of them. Alright guys, just want to show you what I'm doing here. These are a 12 millimeter. This is your filter housing. It comes right out. Ooh. Since it's coming out, it's a good time to either replace or rebuild it. I still got to decide if I'm going to use it or not. Not exactly sure if I am, but you got to take it out anyways to get to all these bolts. And it looks like the mounting bracket is also about the same. Oh, forgot to remove some wires. Okay, we'll just get that out of the way here. We got a couple of wires we got to remove, so that should be pretty simple. Looks like a little Torx bit, and then whatever's under there. But that's out of the way now. Don't lose these bolts. Probably put them back into the housing. We're done. But now it's starting to open up the bottom a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on under here. Looks pretty dirty. Alright guys, just wanted to note that I think, looks like both of these thermostats are exactly the same. They both say towards radiator. I think they're both the front, or this back one, whatever you want to call it, the front thermostat. They're supposed to be different. This one is supposed to be, the one's supposed to be a 185, the other's supposed to be a 180 degree. And looks like both of them are pretty trashed. They've been in there a long time. That rubber is just peeling off. Yeah. So that needed to be done. I do have new thermostats on their way as well. But now we're moving on to our send and return. I believe send, return, maybe. We gotta take these clips off. So they're not difficult, you can just pop them right off generally. Here's a retaining clip, do not lose those. And I found that these angled fuel line removers work best for getting into there. These things are an absolute pain to get to. So just slide it in there. I don't think I'm going to be able to videotape and do it at the same time, but this gets right into those clamps. Oh, won't be able to do that twice. Yeah, as you can see, that's what the inside looks like. That's really all there is to it. I gotta do the same thing here. Remove that clip, and I believe that bottom one's a 1/2 inch, and that top one we just removed a 3/8. Just dropping shit, trying to do things one-handed. Yeah, be a 1/2 inch. That one's gonna take 2 hands, so I'm gonna have to put you down there. But you've seen how I take off that first one, so next one's gonna be the same. They are generally pretty stubborn, but I think it's the 3rd time I've taken them off, so maybe they're just loosening up or something. I don't know. But we're moving along. We're gonna take off these fuel lines, and that'll give me a little bit better access to the glow plug module. I can disconnect a couple of things here that are connected to our overall harness, and I think after that I can almost ready to start peeling this thing back all the way so I can get it out of my way, and that'll expose some fuel lines and things that we can get to as well. Still haven't taken off the FICA yet, but I'll get to that here pretty soon. That needs to be peeled off as well so that I can get that harness out of the way. Always a good idea to use your rigs to plug all your holes so you don't get any dirt and crap down that in your engine or in your turbo. The turbo I just rebuilt down in your intake, and I'll plug that up as well. But okay, moving along. All right, so we're gonna get this glow plug module out of the way. There is one 12mm bolt right there. Already loosened it. Sorry, it's a nut, not a bolt. Put that somewhere safe. And I'm guessing this is probably some kind of retainer as well. Yeah. Oh, there's 2. Oh no, there's 2. I feel another 12mm. That should bring the whole thing up. It's just tucked in there. Let's see if you can see it there. That's what we just did. Or maybe not. Yeah, right there. we're gonna get this fuel module out of the way, but to do that, looks like we got 2 wiring pigtails or harnesses and a couple of fuel lines. Probably just remove this one right at the hose. I don't know, we'll see. But to get these off, gotta pull these straight up. Pull this bottom one straight down. Be as careful as you can. There we go. Looks like they just want to pop right off. Yep. Okay, this out of the way. This line that I took off is normally it would be coming from your fuel filter housing. Just gonna tuck that out of the way. This one tucked out of the way. Okay. Looks like we got one more to get rid of here. Okay. Remove the heater hoses. Looks like I still got 12 mil probably. That will lift that up or allow that out of the way. But otherwise we're getting down to this ficum here. Got most of the harness peeled away. I'm going to try to just remove it. Well, I don't know, we'll see. I believe these are 14 mils, so I'm going to go ahead and try to crack these 3 loose over here. Alright guys, I'm going to free up some space here, get the alternator, just pull it out of my way. So, I'm going to go down to this tensioner here. Tensioner's new. And by the way, I already replaced all my idler pulleys and my tensioner pulley and tensioner. I don't think I replaced this one, but it's a good time to replace all of your pulleys. Guys are taking it all apart anyways. So I'm just going to relieve that tension. Okay, it's the next day here. As you see, we didn't get a whole lot done yesterday, mostly just pulling out all the sensors, labeling everything, just trying to be as meticulous as possible so that when I put things back together, you know, I'll do it correct. Hopefully the first time I'll do it correct. And, you know, just trying to document everything takes a lot of time. And who knows, these videos may help me out more than they help you out, just because, you know, it's my truck and I may need to reference these videos when I'm putting things back together, just so I know. Okay, so where we're at right now is we gotta remove all the fuel lines and stuff, get those disconnected. To do that, gonna need to get rid of these assemblies, because the send line that goes to the FICM is pretty well tucked away under there, although I can probably remove these hoses and stuff and get around it, but these got to come out anyways, because the coolant bridge, Y bridge, that connects the two cylinder heads need to come off, and so this and this will need to come off. And to make things easier on myself, I am going to take off the fan shroud so I have a little bit more room. To do this, we got 4 10 mils on top, and then I believe it's just clipped on the bottom, so we'll be able to just lift it up. We'll take off these two as its own separate housing for the TCM, so we'll zip that out, undo those clips, get that out of the way, and then we'll keep moving from there. So I'm going to do that, and then I think we're going to move on to getting the steering pump and housing assembly all in one out of the way, and then we'll do the same thing with that assembly over here that was holding the alternator. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and remove this assembly here, get that out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the power steering pump line right up here so that I can move it all aside. And here's where I'm going to find out whether or not I bit myself in the ass by not removing the fan altogether. If it does become a problem, I suppose I can just remove the fan. May or may not be too late to put a 48 millimeter and remove that whole thing. We'll see. So we're going to find out together if you really need to remove it or not. Yeah, this will be fun. So got a 14 millimeter here, another one right there. Get you in there. Got those two, and there's one right here. I think that's it. I don't think we have to remove this one. I think it's just these three. We're going to find out here for sure. I'll put you on time lapse and let you know what happens. There's actually 4 mounting bolts here, 4 14 millimeters. You got the 2 right there, the 1 right there, and there's one directly underneath that you can't see, but it's the only 14 millimeter over here because these are 15. So yeah, so it's a 14, but this is free now. All right, we're gonna get this assembly out of the way. I need to get to this bolt, but the tensioner's in the way, so I'm going to remove the tensioner. And I see 2 mounting bolts, but I bet you this guy and this guy, maybe even the idler pulley down here, serve as mounting as well. I'm not sure. They are all 14 mil, so I'm going to go ahead and put you on time lapse. Go ahead and remove this. Here's a good example of a fuel line that definitely needs to be replaced. You can see how cracked it is. This was going to my shrouder valve right there, and I'm sure it was leaking, pulling out fuel or pulling in air. It is toast. So it looks like this one as well needs to be replaced. It's all dry rotted in there, probably sucking in air, and that comes directly from the ficum over to the send unit. So we'll definitely need to replace all these lines that are rotten. I see some down here that are dry rotted. It's coming in from the fuel pump. So more lines you replace with healthy lines, the more bad lines to replace with healthy lines, the happier your truck is going to run, the more smooth, because that's unregulated air being pulled into the system, and if the lines are weeping, that's, you know, fuel economy going right out the window. Just because it's a big pig doesn't mean we can't, you know, do the things that we need to do to make our trucks run a little bit more efficient. Don't need to just run them into the ground all the time. You know, that's why we're here, taking things apart, keeping them on the road, making them run better. You know, 20-year-old truck. These are just the types of things that you got to do. Okay, gonna start getting some of these fuel lines out of the way. I gotta say, dude, I wish I would have taken off the fan. It would make this a little bit cleaner, a little easier, but here we are. Okay, so here's the send line. It's held on by a 12 millimeter here. We got a couple here. I'll already loosen them up. Pull these. Puking fuel everywhere. Drain out. And that is from your ficum to your injectors. Go ahead and replace our nuts here so we don't lose them and know where they go. And I'm going to go ahead and replace that line. Probably replace all the lines and everything when I send the heads off to the machine shop. Alright guys, really wishing I would have removed that fan now. Go ahead and get yourself a 48 millimeter wrench and remove that fan from the beginning. I can still work around it. It's just, seems like it'd be easier if it was removed like you're supposed to do it. So anywho, I'm going to remove this water Y bridge here. We got a bunch of 12 millimeters we got to take off. So we got to remove this bracket. That's a 12 millimeter. Got a fuel line down here. Looks like this fuel line's been replaced at some point, so I just loosened it up there. Oops. Got a fuel line right, can you see that? Right there. Because this is connected to this, so we'll go ahead and attach it at least on one side here so that I can pull out. And we got two more 12 millimeters right there. I think that's all that we need to do to remove this. So, pitter patter. Alright, I was wrong guys. Apologize for that. It's two nuts on top, two bolts on bottom on each side. They're all 12 millimeter. Here's what one of the bolts looks like. Okay guys, cleared out my card here, transferred everything, and been a little busy since we left. We've been taking apart all the fuel lines here. They're all 3/4. I'll tell you that using a 3/4 crow's foot on a breaker bar, it's really good on these lines. Breaks them apart no problem. They've got a couple of 10 mil pull downs, a bunch of 12 mil banjo bolts and things. This whole assembly is pretty much loose. There's 2 lines in the back over there. We got a 12 millimeter banjo bolt and 1 high pressure line, 3/4 again. That's going into the rail. And I think I got everything loose. It's just taking it all out in one piece because it's all kind of wedged in there. Everything's a little rusty, so we're just gonna hit that with some assembly lube. Should be all we need. I think all we gotta do is just pry it out. Stuck on a turbo horn bolt here, so we'll take that out and get that out of the way. I got you guys up on my hood. Hope that's all right. Come on. Oh, yeah, this bolt. I got to replace all 3 of these anyways. Oh yeah. Gonna get jammed down there. Oh, shit. Just bent a line. Fuck. Don't want to bend a line. Okay. Okay. What am I gonna do? There we go. Hey. Oop. Got this little bitch in the way. More hoses. Okay, let's do one of these guys. Nope. Making it worse. Okay, well, I gotta remove that one anyways. Because that hose is super bad. So it's pretty well dry rotted. So I like to break free of these old lines here. They get stuck on. Just twist them until you hear them squeak. And then they pry right off. Okay. Get this guy out of the way. Okay, we're going to go ahead and remove this Y bridge, get this out of the way. And then, yeah, it's a 10 mil. There's 8 bolts. Got 1 on top, 1 on bottom, and then on the other side we got 1 on top, 1 on bottom. Probably gonna need some extensions. Be right back. Okay, we're gonna take off these injector hold downs right here. Either use a Phillips or a 5/16. I'm gonna use 5/16. Okay guys, we're going to want to put these, well, we're not going to put these all back in the same order because I got new lines, but I am going to label them according to the injector 1357 2468, so that when the new injectors come in I can match them up and put them back where they need to go. Alright, so these are all free, good to go. Okay, got all those bolts removed from the upper valve cover. Only one stripped. I use a number 10 extractor. Came right out, no problem. So, well, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, so I'm gonna try to separate the top there. Probably chisel here. Alright, fellas. I know I did things a little backwards, but ultimately I got her, so that's good. Never claimed to be a professional. This is my first time doing any of this. Okay, so we do have head bolts everywhere. Let's see, what do we got to do to get this valve train? We got to get this out of the way. It's pretty simple. A couple little screws there, the injectors. And then this just slides right out. And that was zip tied on. Cool. Let's see. Got to remove that valve train. Got to remove this. And then I'm going to leave the injectors and cups inside. And I'm going to pull the whole thing with that in there. And I'll just pull the injectors and cups out when I got it all out. I do have 3 bolts down here I got to remove still. This is up pipe. I just did the up pipes and down pipe. And if you have a factory down pipe, you will have to remove that. And if you've never done that before, I got a video for it. Hopefully it's out by now. I'll show you how to do that. And mine had never been removed as far as I know. Maybe it was removed once, I'm not sure, but it was a pain in the ass. But this down pipe from KB Diesel Performance has enough clearance to where I can reach all 3 bolts without removing the down pipe. The original down pipe, you had to remove it, get that bracket out of the way so that you can get that rear bolt, otherwise you're gonna have a bad day. Okay, pretty excited. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and remove our little injector solenoid connector things. I'm using a 9/32, seems to be working out all right. And these nuts are self-contained, so you can just spin them off. Now we're going to move on to the valve train here. Oh, looks like this does have to come off. What if I can get down in there? Okay. So there's going to be 5 bolts here. And to release that tension evenly, I think we start in the middle, and then we work our way out, or we start in the middle and start from the ends. I'm not sure, but I think it's do a couple of turns here, a couple of turns, a couple of turns, a couple of turns, couple of turns, and try to relieve that pressure very evenly, much like when you're putting, when you're torquing it down to spec, like for the heads. You want to do it in 3 stages so that it is mounted evenly. We're going to do the same thing in reverse with the valve train. Looks like I got a couple, maybe 12 millimeters right here to get this harness out of the way. We'll see. Yep, 10 millimeter. Got that 12mm banjo bolt right there. We got to pull off this return line so that we can get to the bolts. These are Allens right here on this return line, and they're all the same size as the valve cover Allens, a H5. So go ahead and start digging in here. Okay, so I just removed the bolts from the up pipe, so that's good to go. Also, I forgotten to remove there's this side over here. No, anyways, I had to remove the glow plug connection. And now we're moving on to these Allen heads here. There's 4 of them on top. They are an H6. They're pretty good. They're ready to take all these bolts out. There are a bunch of them. We got 4 on the bottom, a bunch in the middle. I'm also running out of film again, so going to put you on a time lapse here and show you what I'm gonna, or tell you what I'm gonna do first though. So these are on there really good. I think I'm gonna try loosen them up with the impact wrench, and I'm gonna start in the middle and then work my way out. So do these ones, and probably these outer ones, and then just try to do that as evenly as possible. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Probably start here, and then do this one, that one, these 2 ones, these guys, and then these 2 outer ones lastly, and then the head will be finally ready to be pulled, I think. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put you on time lapse. Alright, a couple things real quick here, guys. I do have a little bit of coolant in this side, but I think that may be from when I took out the head. I think I spilled some in there. I mean, that does look a little suspicious. But it looks alright. Not seeing any obvious cracks or anything. Go look at the head. Alright, just want to get you a close look up here. I got 4 minutes left of battery, or 4% left of battery, so show you what I'm looking at here. I do see a bit carbon buildup on a couple of these. Don't scratch that up too much, but there's some carbon buildup there. It's not too bad. A little bit built up in here. This actually looks a little bit damaged right there. Not sure when that happened, but I wonder if that affects how it seals. This one looks pretty good. Well, a little bit, but I do have a little chip there. It's not cracked, but there's a little piece missing, so I'm wondering how much that's going to affect things. This number 1 cylinder seems to be the look at that beautiful sea of parts that needs to be cleaned and taken apart and all that good stuff. Okay, I'm going to be moving on to the driver's side head. And since I took this side off a little backwards, and I learned from my mistakes. First time doing a Duramax head, the last heads I did was on that old Chevy 350. The only other heads I've done before that was on a old Marine Detroit diesel. So a lot more things going on with these Duramaxes. So not trying to be a dumbass or lead you in the wrong direction. I'm learning, and this is my journey. So welcome aboard. All right, so back into it. One thing I noticed before I get into this is that this was hand tight, just like that Injector 7 back there. This one, this Injector, or this high pressure lock or hold down or whatever, is missing a screw altogether. So is this one. That rear one seems pretty tight. Injector 4 is the one I'm most interested in, because when I run my balance rates, whenever my injectors are acting up, this is the one that sticks open at negative 5.5. So I'm curious to see if these have worked their way loose, or if some crap has gotten down in there. So be a good experiment. So the procedure is, I'm going to go ahead and crack all of these high pressure fuel lines. I'm going to remove them, and then I'm going to start in on these Allen screws or Allen bolts on the upper valve cover, and then I can remove both injector wiring harnesses, and then I can get to the valve train, and then yeah, so fuel lines, upper, lower, harnesses, valve train, and then finally I can get to the heads. I'm going to go ahead and put you on time lapse for the interest of time. If I run into any snags, I'll be sure to let you know. The only snags I can foresee happening are in these valve covers. I stripped a couple of the Allens, but I just used a number 10 extractor and backed it right out with no problems. So hopefully I don't have to use that again. I don't know if I can fit it in the upper valve cover, so probably I'll probably hit it with a little bit of PB Blaster first. Maybe clean this up a bit, hit it with some PB Blaster so it can work its way in while I'm doing these high pressure lines. Okay. Okay. In the engine bay here, I had to throw up a tarp because it started just downpouring rain. But we're working on this lower valve cover. I am down to the most pain in the ass Allen head on there, or Allen bolt, and I got it cracked loose pretty easy. I used number 5 Allen to just get that down in there and just to break it loose. Luckily it came out. I know this one gives a lot of you guys trouble, and I was really not looking forward to taking this one out, but this side seems to be coming out relatively easy. It helps that, you know, injectors have been done at least once, even if it was 15, 16 years ago. But anywho, so I put that number 5 bit on there, and then because I couldn't move the Allen anymore, I just used some pliers, needle nose pliers with some really nice teeth on it, and I was able to loosen it up a bit. Oh shit, I'm gonna fall over. And now I can just loosen it up by hand. So it's doable. It is a pain in the ass. I didn't really use any special tools or anything, but my god. Oh, and I just dropped my freaking bit. Okay, I better put this camera down because I need that. Alright, well, I'm joining a long list of people cursing the engineers for tucking bolts back in very difficult to reach places. Yeah. Okay, got all these are 5. Forgot these are 5 H5 Allens, and this bolt's a 12 mil. And these are 14, so I'm going to start here, work my way out, just do it a little bit at a time. Before I get to the head bolts here, this head is grounded with a 10 mil bolt. You don't want to get all hung up with that beast there, so we'll just go ahead and remove it. Get that untangled. Let's set aside, and we'll put our nut back here so we don't lose it. And then, like before, we got a bunch of 17 millimeter 12-point bolts. We're going to start in the center, work our way out so that we don't bend or warp anything. This one's going to be fun. Get a little cramped in there, but we can do it. Come too far to turn around now. Alright. Well, I was able to get all the bolts out. Even those ones in the far corner they say you can't get out. I don't know, maybe this model pig has extra room. Doubt it. Okay. Wish me luck. Oh shit. Stay there. Forgot I got a 8mm, still got to remove yet. Steady depressing, more than my racing, looking at the car wash blues. Guilty, it's really gonna be a single. Until I get myself straight, I guess I'll just have to wait. And my brother soon will get gone. Well, all I can do is shake my head. Okay, back. Had a battery die here, but I just wanted to draw your attention to a couple of things here. So definitely got to take this to the machine shop. Hope this shows up. But I got all these little nicks, like right there. All these little nicks. So I don't know where the hell that came from. Got it right in there. Got one right there. This is the passenger side. I'm guessing at some point some crap made it through the air intake and shot out the valve and bounced around in these two cylinders. I don't know. Here's the driver's side. Driver's side actually doesn't look too bad. Looks pretty clean still. This is the front. So this is injector 2. Injector 4 right here. Injector 4 is the one that always showed up on the balance rates as negative like 5.5 whenever the injector would start to act up. Oh, we got some nicks here too. Injector 6. You can definitely see some spray pattern there. A little carbon buildup. This side got pretty wet. I think that's going to do it for now. While these are in the shop, it's going to give me plenty of time to change all the fuel hoses and shit. I also got a new rail blocker. There's like a PPE race valve, but I got mine from KB Diesel. That goes right there. Let me show you real quick while I'm talking about it, because it probably doesn't look like anything. I'm just pointing at it, but you'll recognize this from online. It's a $30 part. It plugs right into here, and then this line plugs into the top side. And so what this is, this original one has a built-in spring. What do they call that? A check valve? Is that a check? Does that constitute a check valve? Anywho, there's a pressure spring in there, and once it hits a certain pressure, it'll open up that spring and it will send fuel back to your tank, because you hit the threshold for how much PSI they want to send to your injectors. So if you got a big tune, you got big injectors, and after this job we'll have, you know, a tune in injectors, very likely to trip this thing off. And the thing is, once you trip it, that spring gets increasingly weak and weaker until it's just open all the time and constantly sending fuel back to your tank, and then you're just going to be running low pressure. You're just going to have low pressure codes. Truck's going to run like shit. Actually, I don't know if it runs back to the tank or if it just circulates it back to the fuel pump, but either way, it doesn't go to your injectors at that point. It just filters back out. Then you start getting low pressure codes constantly because, you know, that's what's going on. So what you do is you get one of these guys, and essentially it's just a plug. No fuel goes through here at all. Plugs into the stock location, but no fuel can go through here. So there's no spring to trip. There's no way. It just kind of completely takes that system down. So otherwise a little bit of a pain in the ass to get to, considering it's in the engine valley under a bunch of crap. But if, you know, you pulled everything out and it's just laying on the floor anyways, you might as well just drop 30 bones, get one of those on there. We'll do another video later, but I got all my studs ready to go. I got my Lincoln diesel injectors, 45 over sack injectors, ready to go. Got some new high pressure fuel lines. I'm not ready to look and talk about that yet, because I've got all this crap to clean up and organize. But let me just show you what's going on here. Unit. This is what we're looking at in the engine bay. Looks a lot different. I think the hardest part is over now. I gotta remember to retrieve my gaskets. But I think the hardest part is over. Got everything removed. I don't know, I don't want to count my chickens yet. Maybe putting everything back is even more difficult, because then you got to remember where everything goes. Yeah, I don't know. And that's the job, guys. It is not the most difficult thing in the world to do, but there are a lot of steps, a lot of things to remember, and a lot of organization involved. One thing that I will, one tip or piece of advice I will give you guys is, if you can, when you remove your bolts and your nuts, if you can put them back in hand tight where you got them from, that's going to save you a lot of time when you're reassembling, because you won't be trying to figure out which bolt goes to which, because there are a ton of 12mm bolts all throughout the engine of varying different sizes, varying lengths. So you're going to want to put it right back where you got it from, so that you don't lose anything, and so that all your mounting hardware is already prepped, staged, ready to go for reassembly. But this is going to set the stage now for the next episode, where we remove the injectors and we remove the broken glow plugs, and then we start working on those cylinder heads, removing valves and doing a port and polish on the intake, exhaust, and the bowls, real mild like. And that's going to get us set up for the next episode after that, which is going to be reassembly and test run, I think. Pretty sure. So this sounds like your jam. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, so we can get this content out to like-minded individuals like you and I. I hope this helped you out in some way. I hope you found it entertaining, and dang it, I hope you get back on the road here pretty soon. Alright guys, that's it for me. I'll see you on that next one.